All right, all right, all right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the pre-week analysis. I'm your main man, Hop, aka Pips, aka Mr. Levels, aka It's Up There. You know. Now, before I jump into the pre-week analysis, as always, let me give a quick disclaimer. This is not financial advice. Anything that I share during this analysis is for educational purposes only. I repeat, this is not financial advice. Anything and everything that I share during this analysis is for educational purposes only. Cool beans, cool beans. Well. I haven't posted the weekly wrap up yet. I'll post it before I drop the pre-week analysis. But pretty much, if you review the pre-week analysis in the beginning of the week analysis from last week, then you will see that the analysis that I shared and the things that I wanted to see from Price last week did indeed occur exactly how I wanted them to occur. So last week was just a good week, right? So let's see if we can rinse and repeat, right? Cool beans, cool beans. So looking at price action for the dollar index this week to open the week, I'm noticing that we are at a area of premium price, right? Premium price being the premium of Thursday's price range. This is Thursday's price range here. We can see that Thursday was an aggressive bearish day, right? And we see Friday we pulled back up into the 62% and 79% of Thursday's price range, which is our premium array levels, right? These are our premium PD array levels, right? So I have 3 points of interest this week for Dixie or the dollar index, right? I would like to see us sell short from the current premium levels that we're at, right? I would like to see us sell short. Sorry. I would like to see us sell short from the current PD array levels that we're at. Or if we don't sell short from here, this is my second point of interest. I would like to see us sell short from. And if we don't sell short from here, this is my last point of defense, right? Is this inverse daily fair value gap here, right? So overall, right, let's just get it out the way, right? Overall, my bias for Dixie this week is bearish. I would like to see bearish volatility out of the dollar index this week, targeting this area of imbalance that we see here. This is a weekly fair value gap. Let me take you to the weekly time frame so you guys can see it, right? Weekly fair value gap, weekly fair value gap, weekly fair value gap. That is my overall target. That has been my overall target since we were unable to break and close above this inverted weekly fair value gap here, right? Once we broke through there, came back up, um, was unable to close above consequent encroachment or above the upper level of the fair value gap, the inverted fair value gap. I told you guys that um I'm sorry, not right here. That was from last year. I'm sorry, take that back. It was right here. Once we came back up into this inverted fair value gap and price was unable to break and close first above the consequent encroachment, secondly above the upper level of that inverted weekly fair value gap that we see here. I told you guys that I expected price to make its way down to this low here, right? This low here. and my targets was imbalances that we had to the downside, and this is the most obvious imbalance that we have to the downside on the weekly time frame, right? This is the first fair value gap that you see on the weekly time frame after this one, right? So after we broke below this weekly fair value gap, right, we aggressively broke low, right? I told you guys that my next point of interest was this weekly fair value gap here. And as you can see, we've been slowly but surely making our way down to this weekly fair value gap. So that's what I would like to see price deliver this week. I would like to see us start out bullish, open up the week bullish, right? If we can get above the current PD array level that we're at on the daily time frame, right? Then I expect price to sell off. I will be expecting price to sell off from this daily volume imbalance, right? And if we break through that, this is my last point of defense right here, right? If we break above this inverted daily fair value gap, then my bias will flip to bullish, and I will expect price to reach back up into last week's Tuesday's PD array level, right? And I would expect us to reach back up in there, and then we will see how price react from those levels, right? So that's what I'm seeing out of Ditsy so far, right? Remember last week, the pre-week analysis called for a bearish dollar last week. And as you can see, dollar was very bearish last week. This week, I'm calling the same thing. I expect us to start out a little bullish, pushing up to either this daily volume imbalance or this inverted daily fair value gap, right? And continuing lower. So that is my analysis. That is my bias for the dollar index for this trading week, right? Let's look at currencies now. Plainly put, I'm bearish the dollar, so I am bullish. I am bullish currencies this week. Now, just like with the dollar, we are currently sitting at Thursday's PD array level. We came down and retested Thursday's discount arrays, right? And now I want to see if we open up and run Thursday's sell side liquidity and swing higher, or if price wants to reach for the weekly discount arrays and then run higher. So I'll basically just be, waiting for confirmation um out of price, right? Waiting for price to show me smart money reversals at my higher time frame PD array level, right? Meaning if we run here and run this daily sell side liquidity, I will start looking for smart money reversals off of that level. If we run lower to the weekly um PD arrays, same thing. I will start looking for smart money reversals off of those PD array levels. Plain and simple, easy peasy. It's not rocket science, ladies and gentlemen. So, if we break below the weekly PD array levels, right? If we break below that 62.79 in weekly sell side liquidity, then and close below it, then my bias will flip to bearish for euro, and I will start targeting areas of sell side liquidity, right? This swing low here, this this fair value gap here, right? And these fairly equal lows here, very clean lows, right? But I would need to see us break below the weekly PD arrays, close below those levels in order for my bias to flip to bearish for currencies, right? And that's pretty much across the board for currencies. Same thing with pound. I expect us to continue higher. My bias is bullish for the pound this week, but I anticipate a pullback down into um, the weekly PD array. Um, and I will allow for price to pull back down to those levels without flipping my bias bearish, to a bearish bias, right? As long as we find support here, I will look for smart money reversals off of these weekly PD arrays for price to continue higher. Only when we break and close below all of these weekly PD array levels will my bias for GBP USD flip to bearish. Same thing for NZD USD. I expect us to continue higher for my bias for NZD USD this week, right? And I will allow for price to pull back down into the weekly and daily PD array levels that you see here before continuing higher. And only if we break and close below the weekly PD array levels will my bias for NZD USD flip to a bearish bias. Moving on to futures. I expect this to be a bullish week for futures, but I will allow for price to pull back down into Wednesday's daily PD array level before continuing higher. I will also allow for price to pull down into the weekly PD array levels, right? Because we see this daily fair value gap here that sits right there in between the weekly PD array. So price could come down into here and then slingshot back up to the upside. Only if we break below the weekly sell side liquidity will my bias flip to um, a bearish bias, right? And then I will target these fairly equal lows, this imbalance, swing low, and these imbalances to the downside, right? Now, even though I have a bullish bias for the week, that doesn't mean that if price breaks aggressively below this daily buy side liquidity that you see here, right? Um, that doesn't mean that I won't start looking for short opportunities, right? To ride price down into the daily buy side, the daily PD array levels, right? And the weekly PD array levels, right? So if we break below the daily buy side liquidity and price shows displacement, and I start seeing 2022 models or smart money reversals off of the higher time frame PD array, which is my daily buy side liquidity, I will take that short only to these levels to then take profit at these levels and re-enter on a buy to ride price higher. Understandable? Cool beans? Cool beans. And that's the same thing for NQ as well. I do expect this to be a bullish week for NQ and across futures for Dow, for E-mini Dow as well. And like I said, I will allow for price to pull back down into the daily PD arrays and the weekly PD arrays to continue higher, right? So if we break back below daily buy side liquidity and I start seeing a 2022 model or a smart money reversal off of that daily buy side liquidity, I will short from there down into the daily discount levels and the weekly discount levels, take profit there, re-enter a buy to ride price back up. Cool beans? Cool beans. Well, as always, it's a pleasure. It's always an honor to be able to share my analysis with you guys and my point of view on the markets and price action and what I believe price will do throughout the week. If you find any value whatsoever in these analyses and in reviews that I do on my YouTube channel, please like, share, and most of all, subscribe. That really helps out a lot. And if you are interested in joining my private trade group, Telegram group, visit precisionpipsllc.com on your mobile app, please. The desktop app is being redesigned, and we're doing some things. We're working out some glitches on the desktop app, but the mobile application works just fine. So please visit precisionpipsllc.com and subscribe to the silver package if you're interested in joining my private Telegram group. That's $150 a month, and it's really, really, really undervalued because the information and gems that is shared in that group is priceless. So, with that being said, I appreciate you guys coming out, tuning in, getting this knowledge, and empowering yourselves. Let your family and friends know you love them while they still here, please. And as always, peace and love, everybody. You know